Let's kick it off.
Kick it.
He's the tallest man on the radio, so sit right back and enjoy the show. Flying through the air like a ballistic missile. Here's your host, Ben Kissel.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to OK Bud Politics, the podcast where everything's going to be okay, bud. I am Ben Kissel at Ben Kissel1 on Instagram, joined by Kyle Ploof.
Hey.
At Kyle Ploof. Thank you all so much for joining us on this fine day. We have a bunch to get to. As always, we'll talk a little bit about taxes. What's that new fiscal budget? What's it going to look like? We'll discuss along with a lot of other things. But let's start with a man who's not allowed near schools, not allowed near children.
Oh, boy.
However, he wants to be the next city council member in New York. That man, of course, is Anthony Weiner.
Oh, God.
The Ween is back. By the way, Andrew Cuomo, rather, he is looking to become the new mayor of New York City, and he is currently polling number one.
Wow, Wiener's polling too.
Indeed he is, as of course we have to recall when he took a picture of his big old boner stuffed inside them underwear. The problem was his kid was right by him.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the problem. He took a picture, I think the kid was like 8-9 months old, and he was sexting, but the kid was right in bed with him, so that it's a whole weird thing.
Yeah.
However, he wants to make a comeback. He says, "Women are crazy about me." It was an interesting interview. That's an exact quote. He's a registered sex offender because ladies like the bad boys.
Yeah.
He says, "For sure, my God, they're crazy about me. Women are crazy about me."
Oh, my Lord.
If you want to watch a fantastic documentary about a very real politician, check out Wiener. You can see the rise and the limp fall of Anthony Weiner and his beautiful wife at the time, Huma Abedin.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably not lying because at some point he had some power and there's
Right.
some panache there. Mm-hmm. And then he still has like a little bit of celebrity to
He does.
him.
He does. And as we talked about on Death and Entertainment this week, we talked about John Holmes.
Yeah.
What does Weiner have? A wad.
Yeah.
The dude was packing.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those skinny, wiry types. This is why you can't trust anyone.
That's true.
This is when your girlfriend says, "Don't worry about Todd. He's so small." No, Todd's got a wad.
He doesn't even have any muscle tone. And then he's just got, a hammer.
He's got one vein, and it goes right down to the crotch.
Oh, boy.
Weiner is now 60 years old. Of course, that sexting scandal was extremely embarrassing. Do you feel old yet? That was over a decade ago.
Wow.
Of course, he was sent to prison for sexting a 15-year-old girl. Served a little time in prison, as most people do. He is now running in the Democratic primary for council in Manhattan's East Side District 2. This is going to be big. We'll see how well he does. Weiner says that he intends to get in there and stick in the fight. He says, "I'm a guy named Weiner who tweeted out a picture of his dick." So if that's not a great campaign slogan,
Put it on the sign.
put it on the sign. Weiner for dick. So he says, hey, ex-Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, he was accused of paying a minor for sex. He's still around. You know that's not a good political campaign.
No.
When you're like, well, what about Matt Gaetz? Matt Gaetz got to do it.
Yeah.
Why can't I do it?
Oof.
Weiner also replied, his name is not Matt Kidfucker.
No.
So isn't that nice?
He's lucky for that one.
Yes, isn't that nice? So for Matt Gaetz, he says he's lucky his name is not Matt Kidfucker. Because that would have been the equivalent of Anthony Weiner showing a dick pic.
Sure.
So that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So potato, cock and ball.
Yeah.
Cock and ball.
Wiener, eunuch.
Exactly.
You know.
This is a very, very bad impression that Anthony Weiner is giving to the voters in Manhattan. There's got to be a better option.
Yeah.
Of course, he will have the support of some people. Don't forget, the Clintons put a lot of money behind him. Huma Abedin, she was Hillary Clinton's right-hand gal. She was with her from the very beginning. And as I've said before, and I'm going to put on my, Kyle, I'm taking your Wokatola hat.
Oh!
If you want to look at systemic sexism, what is the difference between these two lives? Huma Abedin went to go work for Hillary Clinton in the exact same intern class that Monica Lewinsky went to go work for Bill Clinton.
Oh, boy.
So one ended up sucking a ding-dong, getting finger popped by a cigar, and sort of being the laughing stock of a nation. Not her fault, by the way. Those late-night hosts,
Yeah.
they went a little far with her. She damn near committed suicide
I know. It's brutal.
because she went to go work for Bill Clinton. But then you had Huma, who went to go work for Hillary, and theoretically she was going to be a very successful wife of a congressman. But then that said congressman decided to send a dick pic and sext a 15-year-old. But that is an interesting thing to remember. Two very similar beginnings, two completely different outcomes, but both of them ended with dick.
Yeah. And then she went back to Hillary.
Well, Huma did, of course,
Yeah,
because she
that's
never left her
crazy.
side.
Right. Wow.
Huma never left Hillary's side. She was her number one aide, and I think one of the very few bright spots of the 2015-2016 campaign that Hillary ran, where she decided not to go to Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, or Michigan. Maybe she went to Illinois, but she didn't go to Michigan because she thought she had those states all wrapped up. But it turns out there was coal in that package. So he was asked, how did you stay safe in prison? And then he says, this is for Anthony Weiner, back to this interview, because it's always good when you're running for a house, when you're running for a local seat, and one of the questions that you get asked is, how did you stay safe in prison?
Yeah.
It's exactly what you want the interview to be asking. The interviewer asking, how did you live in prison? He says, this is Anthony Weiner saying, I lived with the store man. So that's a high priority room right there.
Wow. So he's with the leader of the commissary.
He's with the leader of the commissary. The man who owns the commissary is the man who owns the prison, let's be honest.
So did he this seems like a political move.
Totally.
He found his way into that room?
He's a weasel, bro.
Wow.
He's
Fucking
a weasel.
Wiener the Weasel.
Yeah, of course. He's a total and utter scumbag.
Wow.
I will say this. When it comes to his ability to speak, he's very good. I watched, again, the documentary Wiener. Check it out. He goes to a town hall. I believe it's in Staten Island, obviously a much more conservative area. And he's talking to these people. At first, they're like, fuck yo. And by the end of it, they're like, well, he made some good points. Like he flipped an entire audience
Wow.
of hardcore Long Islanders, so he can do it. He was a great retail politician. Of course, let's not forget the sex scandal he also had with Sydney Leathers, the porn star.
Oh, boy.
He just had a lot of baggage, both politically and between his legs. And that was the main problem for the Ween. He also angered a lot of people in New York politics. For example, Gerald Nadler. This guy is so disgusting.
Nadler.
Yeah, he is disgusting. He's all fat and weird and old and nasty. And Anthony Weiner says that he still grimaces at me when he sees me. So Nadler grimaces at him like the penguin grimacing at a hamburger that isn't quite big enough.
Yeah, he's also the same shape as Grimace, too.
Exactly. He really is. Maybe he did the Grimace milkshake challenge and it just didn't go away.
Yeah.
Weiner said it hurt to be put on this. This is another thing from the interview. Weiner said it did hurt him to be put on the sex offender registry.
Nobody hurts my wiener.
Yeah, he was like, that hurt me. Yeah, I sexted a 15-year-old. Who among us?
Oh, God.
Who among us? Throw the first condom, okay? But it hurt him to be put on the sex registry.
Oof.
And of course, that began in 2011 when he admitted to sending pictures to at least 6 women of his ding-dong. Of course, at first, like all politicians, he lied and said, my Twitter was hacked. This is back when it was Twitter.
Oh, that's right.
My Twitter was hacked. You get it? My last name is Wiener, so they sent a dick pic out. Yeah, you get it.
They see him in the mirror.
He also used the pseudonym Carlos Danger.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway, he's back. So if you are in Manhattan, you have a chance to really just revive the career of this man who apparently says that he wanted this 15-year-old to dress up in school uniforms and be a part of, quote, rape fantasies.
Oh, good Lord.
So isn't that nice? I like my pedophile politicians open.
Yeah.
You know, you got Donnie T out there just taking planes from the Saudis. Let's just make it all open.
Right.
Let's make the bribes open. Let's make the pedophilia open. I'm sick of this pizza conversation.
Yeah.
Send me 8 kids.
Yeah. Jeez.
We're having a big political convention, Podesta. Send me 10 kids. Just let us know.
Just be out there.
The FBI also did a criminal probe into Wiener. It became a pretty big issue because don't forget, when Hillary was running for president, these were part of the private emails that James Comey was combing through. And of course, James Comey, a man who was just on Stephen Colbert's show, as Stephen Colbert licked his fucking anus because he's just a funny guy. Comey is recently in the news, for those that don't remember. Of course, he's the ex-FBI director who reopened the case of Hillary Clinton about a week before the election of 2016, which very well may have cost her the election. He just recently took a picture of eggshells that said 8647, which is basically means get rid of Donald Trump.
A lot of people are saying it means kill Donald Trump.
Kill Donald Trump, whatever. James Comey is a piece of trash. I saw him speak at Politicon. He is total garbage. Everything he did with the FBI was corrupt, and the man is the reason why we got Donald Trump in the fucking first place.
Wow.
So the reason you want to 86 Donald Trump, perhaps you should have 86'd your investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, because all they did was reopen it just to close it, but it caused a lot of confusion in the minds of the American people. So Comey, get the hell out of here. I hate that these people are becoming celebrities.
Well, that's the thing. I think Anthony Weiner should just give up politics and just embrace being a smutty celebrity.
I completely agree. Also, how do you take care of schools when you're not allowed to be near one?
Yeah.
That's a little tricky.
That's tough. And that's for life. Like, once you're on the sex registry, that's it.
That's it.
You're on. There's no getting out of it.
That is for life. So, political news coming out of New York. Weiner, he's back on the rise, and we'll see if he drips into office. I want to talk a little bit about technology.
Okay.
Specifically, artificial intelligence. I don't like this story one gosh darn bit. We're going to go to the state of Arizona. Arizona, beautiful state, except for Kingsman.
Kingsman, no good.
Kingsman is the scariest town I have ever been in my life. I was driving across country with my friend Jazzy. She's a black gal, and that was the only area, other than parts of northern Florida, Jacksonville.
Yeah,
of course. That was the scariest area, other than northern Florida.
Wow.
Was Kingsman, Arizona. It's also the area where Sacha Baron Cohen, when he was doing one of his Borats.
The rodeo?
It wasn't the rodeo. It was the one where he was pretending to be a Muslim dude who was going to open up a mosque.
Oh, shit.
And the guys were like, we don't want that here in Kingsman. He's like, oh, you want it bigger? They're like, no, we don't want it at all.
Want it bigger.
And then one guy says, we barely allow black people here.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, Arizona, an interesting state, a beautiful state in many ways. Kingsman, just keep on driving through. If you happen to be listening while living there, my heart goes out to you, because you're one of the good ones, because holy hell.
Yeah.
The meth runneth over and over and over. The Arizona Supreme Court has been the first court in the country to use AI-generated reporters to deliver news.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. Nothing could go wrong here. Arizona Supreme Court handed down a couple of rulings on arson and DUI cases this month. The announcement on its website wasn't delivered by a spokesperson or a judge. It was instead delivered by 2 AI avatars that were virtually indistinguishable from real people. So that is where we are now. I watched one little TikTok or Instagram of someone saying, you got to tell your parents This is all fake now. But of course, it's not just the booms. It's not just older folks, which I guess technically I am.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to be confused by this because, again, they look just like real people. I don't like the precedent that this is setting here in Arizona. I don't want the courts and government to start using AI to deliver their messages. Obviously, we already know that news around the country is scripted, and it comes from a very, very small office.
Yeah.
Mostly the Murdochs, things of that nature. But AI is a whole nother level. The name of the newscasters were Daniel and Victoria. They had very sexy names.
Yeah.
Daniel and Victoria. They were the newest computer-generated faces of the Supreme Court. They're part of an effort to innovate how justice is communicated to the public.
What?
Isn't that exciting?
Good God.
You could just have a person come in there and tell us what you're doing, but no. Let's go with AI, folks, so that you really, as a human being, as a constituent, have no one to yell at that's real.
Yeah. I wonder if they were actual people that had like the avatars put over their bodies, because there's a lot of people doing that kind of stuff, especially in the sex world.
I know.
There's like guys that are dressing as these hot chicks. Well, they're not dressing as them. Yeah, they're like literally importing their own bodies and moving around like they're a hot chick with huge boobs.
If you don't know, you don't know.
And so there's a lot of guys making money from other guys.
Yep. Also, I do think there's something about that where you're in the mind of a man, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because you're an actual man.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're presenting as an AI woman.
So you know what daddy likes.
You know what daddy likes. You're like, how did he know I like sounding? This chick really gets me, man. This chick really understands how to work the male libido. So, according to communications director Alberto Rodriguez, he says, I think it's just an efficient way for us to get news out. I totally disagree. He says it's really an opportunity to us. It's really an opportunity for us to meet the public where they're consuming their media. So I assume they're putting this on all of these social medias again, which are now flooded with AI and just blatant, utter lies.
Misinformation.
Rodriguez, he's the man behind the machine who helped design the voice and appearance of these virtual coworkers. I assume these coworkers are, again, they're not coworkers, they're AI, they're nothing.
Yeah.
Lawnmower man. We must rewatch the film. But he helped work and design on their appearance and voices. He says the artificial intelligence technology has allowed his team to shrink production time and release up to 6 hours, and a news release that would have taken 6 hours, it can just be done in a couple minutes.
In a jiff.
In a jiffy.
Wow.
So look at that. And of course, we're going to talk here in a second about AI and how it's taking jabs.
They took our jibs.
They took our jibs. And it's not the people who are currently being deported or being abducted at Home Depot as they stand on the corner looking for work. It is indeed big tech and technology that's who is taking your job. We're going to talk about white collar workers who are currently at the forefront of having their jobs taken by AI. This is what Rodriguez says. He says, as far as taking the job of a public information officer, I don't think that's an issue because it still takes some manpower. We still have to work with the bench to make sure that we're getting accurate information. So isn't that exciting?
One would hope.
No, they're not. They don't care. Arizona Supreme Court Chief Justice Ann Timmer assures that every word the public hears from the avatars was written by the justices themselves. Of course, the justices are writing what was told to them by AI. So it's a circle of shit.
Wow.
She hopes the added attention will improve public confidence of the court. I don't see how that's going to help.
That is a good point, because like behind closed doors, anything could be happening. And then they're like, here, this is the information.
Well, why do you think they wear the robes? Easy access.
Yeah.
Ups and downs, very quick. Oh, 5-minute recess, that's all it takes. Ruth Bader Ginsburg banging Scalia.
Oh, God.
Well, they were best friends.
Wow.
They kissed.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they kissed.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's a different time in America.
Weren't they two completely opposite sides of the aisle?
Yeah, but it's the same
They
point.
just came in and fucked in the aisle.
Oh, yeah. RBG.
Oh, God.
Remember that when everyone had their RBG? Mm-hmm. But then, like, they edited a bunch of videos about how she actually had a lot of conservative views, but then she was in an interview with 60 Minutes, and they edited all those out so then people could still wear their shirts.
Yeah, and then people got mad at her for staying in too long, and then Kavanaugh got in.
Yep. RBG.
Yep.
There was a very sad time for left politics, still going on in many ways. It's Mueller time. Remember that when they had the Mueller time shirt? It's a German inquisitor. You're wearing an 80-year-old German man on your shirt. Mueller time. Drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So this is what the judge says. She says, for years, we took it for granted that, of course you trust the courts. This is the mind of these people. The mind of the chief judge is, for years we took it for granted that, of course you trust the courts. Of course you trust judges.
Yeah.
We're doing our best. And these are hardworking people. But if people don't believe that, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Right in your face. They do not care.
No, of course not.
But it is crazy how much people do trust the court system, which is completely corrupt in a lot of ways.
It is, but as we've talked about a bit with the Karen Reed case, and we'll get to that on OK Bud every Friday until that case is over.
Yep.
It's hard for people to admit that our system is so flawed because then everything is flawed.
Yeah.
Then everything is broken. Then could we even trust a stop sign?
No.
Well, you have to.
Well, I guess you have.
But you have to.
And you go to court for it.
I can't tell you how many times. Well, exactly 2. I have been stopped at a red light, and I'm there for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, I think it's broken.
Yeah.
And then you go. But for the no cars are out. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, why is this?
Oh, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like literally, it's 10 minutes, and you're like, oh, it's broken, or it's not on. I don't know what the hell is going on. I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Go through a red light.
And we think we have free will.
Nope.
So Daniel and Victoria, they're going to become a forward-facing example of AI in the legal system. Very exciting.
Jeez.
Of course, there is a lot of controversy. One plaintiff in New York tried to use an AI attorney to argue his case, but he was shut down by the appeals panel.
That's bullshit. You should be able to.
Well, if the Supreme Court in Arizona is going to be using them as spokespeople, that's a slippery slope. Will AI be a better attorney than the person that the state mandates to be your attorney if you don't have money to afford one? Maybe.
Yeah.
That is an interesting point, and we'll have to get to that at some point in this country, I'm sure.
They're loaded up with case law and all this stuff that they could argue more than probably a lot of lawyers that are out there.
I'm sure that they could, and that's why I'm thinking they probably won't be allowed in the courtroom because then prosecutors are going to be like, this isn't an easy guilty verdict.
Ooh.
We're not filling the prisons. I'm not getting my kickbacks. This whole thing is being screwed.
Oh, boy.
In California, the state bar faced heavy criticism from the legal community after disclosing that some questions on the state's February law exam were written using AI.
Uh-oh.
As, of course, AI continues to grow, so will it grow within our legal system. Very interesting. Timmer lastly says, this AI, at least that we're using, is not generative. Generative. Which means it can't think all on its own and shit.
Can't start holding everybody hostage like that.
Yeah, it can't be like the Supreme Court today said all boobs are supposed to be on your back. But wait until all of a sudden the AI Daniel and Victoria start slipping, and they're like, today the Supreme Court said shoes are stupid, and then everyone's gonna freak out.
There are no speed limits.
Let's go.
Oh boy.
Speaking of AI, let's move on. We talked about jobs on the last episode. They're saying now AI could spark what is being called a bloodbath. Not just for your working class folks, the people who worked in the factories, the people who worked in fast food, people who basically worked in any profession other than the profession of pushing paper. 20% of white-collar jobs are now at risk. That's according to Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei.
Wow, the CEO's coming out and saying it.
Absolutely. Well, they're proud of it. This is how they're going to make all their money.
Ooh.
This is the firm that built Cloud.
Oh, so that's the one that
Claude.
was
Claude.
blackmailing this guy.
This is the same one that was blackmailing the guy that we covered on OK Bud.
Holy shit.
Claude. That's a stupid ass name.
Yeah.
That's the AI chatbot's name. Yes, Claude, if you want to listen to that episode of OK Bud, which I'm sure you do, he ended up, someone who was using him ended up having an affair, and then Claude, what the?
And then
Claude
he
was like, hey, you end me, you end my relationship with you, I'm snitching.
Yeah, he was saying he was going to switch out Claude for another AI, and he's like, I'm going to tell your wife you're fucking someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Claude, you fuck. It's a punchable name.
Yeah.
Claude. I can't even say it right. Oh, why? So, according to Dario Amodi, he says politicians need to stop sugarcoating how many layoffs this new technology is going to cause. He says most of them are unaware that this is about to happen. It sounds crazy, and people just don't believe it. He said that this week when it comes to, again, people in the white-collar industries losing their gigs. We already just saw it with what's going on in the Arizona Supreme Court, despite the fact they're like, no, people are going to need to be there. Well, there's two people that don't need to be there, the motherfuckers who are going to tell the people on camera. Yeah. So the Anthropic boss expects the job market to completely be devastated over the next 5 years. 1 to 5 years, that is. At the same time, he expects AI to provide some benefits to the economy and then fuel unprecedented advancements in medicine. And I can see that. AI, again, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. AI, if it can determine if you have cancer earlier. There was a screening where a gal, she had her big old boobie out there, and they did one of the boob scans. It wasn't sexy.
No.
It was like the inner workings of the boob, which is all muscle. It just looks fat and the veins and shit.
Mammogram.
Yeah, it's all like, put your clothes back on, boob, so I can jerk off to you. But AI was able to discover cancer earlier than the human.
Wow.
So that's great. And we all want that. And that is wonderful. That being said, what's the limit on its uses? So Amodi says cancer could be cured. The economy grows at 10% a year, the budget is balanced, and 20% of people don't have jobs. Right now, the unemployment rate is about 4%.
Which is bullshit. It's definitely higher than that.
This is the irony with unemployment, and this is how they do the statistics. If you stop looking for work, you're no longer counted. So they only count people who are looking for work actively that can't find it in the unemployment statistic. So basically, if you tried and you gave up, they're like, we're not going to count you.
Yeah.
So it probably is closer to 15 or 20%.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
But now everyone can just be home, show their feet for a little while. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about this on OK Bud. Sydney Sweeney, she's selling her bathwater.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of ways to make money.
That's going to break up a lot of marriages because there's going to be like guys that are like, well, you know what I want for Father's Day.
Don't tell your wife that.
I almost did, and that's when I thought about it. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Don't tell. Carolina's about to cut your dick right off.
Not every joke goes over very well.
Well, women are all sensitive to that stuff. Oh, he's cheating on me. It's not funny.
I'm just drinking Sydney Sweeney's bathwater.
I think you're supposed to bathe with it. I don't know. We'll talk about that on OK.
Gargle it.
You're nasty. Amodi, he started Anthropic. He was previously working with Sam Altman. Sam Altman, a very, very famous CEO. And, of course, that was with OpenAI. He was one of the several executives that has warned about the upheaval in the job market. So I do give him some credit that at the very least, he's like, just so you know, this technology that I created is really going to fuck over like a lot of people. Yeah. So we're going to have to figure out a universal basic income. We'll have to figure out something. It's interesting because, of course, the Republicans in this case, they want to cut Medicare and Medicaid, which might be more needed now than ever before because of situations like this.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's like, this is going to cure cancer and fuck over every CEO in the country. No, it's pretty good.
I mean, I don't mind that idea. That's out if you sell it like that.
Yeah.
That sounds like Luigi Mangione 1.
Yeah, exactly.
This is according to Mark Zuckerberg. He is someone who is all over the place politically. Now he likes Donald Trump, apparently. I don't know what's going on. I think that they're bedfellas, and that is something I don't want to think about whatsoever.
Yeah.
Them, again, in bed, doing things
He's
together.
got a stupid haircut now and does jujitsu all the time and talks about it nonstop.
Well, that's what people do. Yeah.
He's having a very public midlife crisis, I think.
He is. He is. Threw a big party for his wife, which is nice. I guess it was a nice party.
From Massachusetts.
Is he from his wife?
Quincy, Massachusetts, where my mom lives.
You could have been with them.
Yeah.
You could have been with Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes, he could have taken me, but I'm not
Fucked it
a
up.
small Asian lady.
You fucked it all up by not being a small Asian lady.
Yeah, fuck.
Zuckerberg, they used to say, oh, how do you find a vegan? Well, just ask him. But now that's been replaced with, how do you know who someone does jujitsu?
Yep.
Because they will shoehorn that shit in.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he had to say on the Joe Rogan Experience. He says, probably in 2025, we at Meta, as well as other companies, we're basically working on this. We're going to have an AI that can effectively be a sort of mid-level engineer that you have to have at your company that can write code. So coders, boom, you're gone. Because now a robot AI is going to be taking that job. They took our job.
Wow.
They took our jobs indeed.
Can you imagine being the guy that's coding the code into the AI that's going to replace you to do the code?
Just feels like such an asshole.
Training your replacement. I would never fucking do that.
No, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, you know.
Don't you like have to or something?
Nah, if I was at a job and they're like, you're fired, but you're staying for 2 weeks so you can train your replacement, I would like shoot the place up.
Oh, healthy reaction.
That's what I think.
Healthy reaction.
That's what I'd do. Or, well, I mean, I'm not going to do jujitsu about it.
No.
Do that.
No. All right, so that's a little bit on artificial intelligence. If you're in Arizona, just remember everyone who's giving you breaking news about the Supreme Court in your state, those are not real people, and God knows how they will be programmed and what they will be saying. And also, if you are in the coding profession, I'm sure you probably already know this, but times might be coming to an end for all mid-level workers, which are the people that always thought they were going to be safe.
Yep.
And now it's come for you.
There's no middle class anymore.
There isn't. And it's fucking horrible. And that's why we saw what we saw in 2021 when it came to the riots all over this country. Let's move on to the state of Texas. We have a bill that has passed, and I am completely against it.
Oh, no.
Texas is also mandating that all classrooms have to have the 10 Commandments, which I disagree with the mandate. Also, can't you just teach those lessons without the religious component?
How are these kindergartners not supposed to know they're not supposed to fuck another man's wife?
Well, exactly.
You gotta find it out somehow.
I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, you can teach some of the positive tenets of the 10 Commandments without wrapping it in religious ideology.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole nother story. Texas House has passed a bill banning the sale and possession of THC cannabis products.
Silly.
It's very, very silly. As soon as you enter the state of Texas, I've driven through there many times, there's huge signs that are like, in Texas, marijuana is still illegal. And then there's massive billboards, and I think the guy's number is like 1-800-DOPE. Like, he's literally a lawyer who's like, you've been busted for weed, I can help you, wears a tie-dyed shirt and shit. It's a huge business out there.
Yeah.
This bill in Texas has banned THC. It was a vote of 95 to 44. I guarantee you 100% of the people that voted have children who are currently high, smoking a joint somewhere in this country.
Yeah.
It's Senate Bill 3. It passed the House. It's banning all THC products. Adults face up to 1 year in jail for possessing THC. So isn't that exciting? From an economic perspective, this is completely wrong. THC is an $8 billion industry in Texas. Well, they figure, hey, we can make the money back if we put enough people in prison. Maybe we'll get some kickbacks from them, and maybe we'll offset the $8 billion we're losing.
It's not
on
like they're
weed.
It's not like they're losing. It's just shifting because now you can pull people over for being high, so you get more money there.
Sure.
They got to go through the court system anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you gotta see where it's being reallocated.
Well, you got cities like Ferguson, Missouri. Of course, that was on the map during the shooting. And we found out that their city was making about half their money off of citations.
Wow.
So basically, cops became an extension of the tax man.
Yep.
Which is not how it was supposed to go. According to Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, not the sports commentator.
Dan Patrick.
I love Dan Patrick. He's a legend in radio. I want to be just like him.
Yeah.
He championed the bill, and he thanked lawmakers for passing because he says this is about protecting kids. It's always about protecting kids.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
That's what parents do.
Yeah, that's what parents do.
Parents protect their own kids. Don't worry about my fucking kid.
So there's a lot of things going on with children right now, and THC isn't in the top 10
No.
of what's going to kill them.
No.
The number one thing, of course, killing children, firearms.
Oh.
And being all fat. Not everyone is happy, as you can imagine by this. The Texas Hemp Business Council, it sounds really fun, they say we are deeply disappointed by Texas' passage of SB 3, a bill that dismantles the legal hemp industry and ignores the voices of small businesses, farmers, veterans, which is a fantastic point.
Yeah.
PTSD, people who don't want to get addicted to pain pills. This is going to uptick the opioid crisis, going to lead to bad livers, people dying.
Exactly.
Veterans and consumers across the state who rely on hemp-derived products for their livelihoods and well-beings. Out of all the things happening, again, in this country, Texas focusing on this is absolutely insane. So it bans, this law authorizes the ban of Delta 8, which should be banned because it's horrible.
Is that one of those like
It's
synthetic ones?
Yeah, I got it in Michigan.
Oof.
It made my head all weird.
Yeah,
But,
I haven't
not
tried.
good.
I haven't tried any of that stuff since salvia, and I went crazy for like 5 minutes on salvia. It was not good.
Yeah, just legalize sweet, perfect flour.
Yeah.
Yeah, Delta 8, it's such a strange strain. Delta 8, Delta 9, those are banned. And all forms of intoxicating THC, including beverages. It also prohibits the retail sale of cannabinoids.
Yes.
Cannabinoids? Sounds like a spacecraft.
Jump in the cannabinoid.
Yes. Oh, my God. I'm high as shit. We haven't even got a foot off the ground yet. With the exception of CBD and CBG. So they are allowing some CBD and CBG in there. Again, CBD, a poor man's alternative to a good old-fashioned THC when it comes to medication. Apparently, there's a lot of CBD shops in Texas, and they were then starting to sell cannabis products. So, boom, hence the law has stepped in and said, no more for you. So that's going on in Texas right now.
But booze and pills are legal.
Booze and pills are legal, and this is why the state of Texas is always so aggravating, because there's aspects of it that are free, and you're like, oh, this is nice, especially coming from California and New York.
Yeah.
And then there's other aspects where you're like, wow, this is the most prohibitive state in the fucking country.
Right.
It's pretty insane.
And they don't have state tax there.
Right.
So maybe that's why they're like jealous that they can't cash in on all the tax money.
No, they would still, they still can tax when you go to the grocery store, and no, I'm sure they were taxing weed. Yeah, they get their tax money.
Yeah.
That is absolutely for certain. So there you go. When it comes to the state of Texas, be very careful with your sweet herb, because you could face up to a year in prison. Well, speaking of taxes, just lastly, let's get to the exciting world of the budget.
Ooh.
The House tax plan. It now costs $4 trillion. That's what budget forecasters say. It was initially supposed to be $3.94 billion, but I'm sorry, $3.94 trillion. What are we? Is it Sweden? No. $3.94 trillion. It is now going to be $4 trillion. That's what forecasters say. There's going to be a couple of tax deductions, which I'm not necessarily against. There's an agreement with a number of blue states. The Republican holdouts, they want to hike the SALT cap to $40,000 from the plan $30,000, and that would cost an additional $129 billion. The cap is currently $10,000, but that would really help the middle class of this country, so I'm fine with it.
Let the people keep their money.
Let the people keep their money. SALT, it basically stands for the state and local tax deduction. It allows taxpayers to itemize and deduct certain state and local taxes from their federal income tax. So basically, you're not getting double taxed from your state and the federal government. Right now, you can deduct up to $10,000, and with this tax plan, you can deduct up to $40,000, which I am fine with. There are many other ways that we could cut the budget, such as stopping the CIA from having fake websites to find domestic terrorists.
Star Wars
websites. Yes, that happened 10 years ago, but yes, it's very, very interesting. So the budget coming in, there are obviously, you got your Cato Institutes of the world who are going to be extremely upset because once again, the government will be $2 trillion over budget, puts us at about a $36 trillion deficit.
That's all.
That's all.
Yeah.
What does it even mean at that point? You ever see the number? The number is so damn long.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. So one of the things that they want to cut in order to claim to be fiscally responsible is Medicare and Medicaid. This cannot be touched. That is I'm a bottom line guy.
Yeah.
There is so much money, so much waste in our government. All you have to do is Google government waste, usastats.org or .com or whatever. You can see millions and billions of dollars of waste. Medicare is not the main problem. What they're doing right now is potentially going to cut $700 billion in Medicare over a series of years. Now, one of the things that actually most Americans do approve of is making sure that people are active in their community that receive Medicare.
Yeah.
So they say you want to do like 40, 80, some hours of community service. Maybe you're looking for a job, right? One of the issues that's happening right now is for people who are looking for jobs, that's just become more difficult because the Labor Department, in a Doge move, which most people agree, like vastly, it's like in the 90%, that the government spends too much. There's a lot of government bloat, a lot of government waste.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees, but they just get upset with what the waste is. And one person's waste is another person's treasure.
Condoms for Palestine.
Sure. Which might be a good idea.
That was one of the first things that got cut. It was like $50 million.
Why? You need to have babies, man. There's a war going on.
Yeah.
Come on. What are you, condoms?
Soldiers.
The fuck kind of bullshit is that?
I don't know.
They're trying to kill the Palestinians with condoms.
It's crazy.
That ain't right.
Yeah.
These Palestinians, you better be boinking out these kids. You got a fucking long-ass war to fight. So, the Labor Department, it has, again, so most people understand and agree the government is bloated. This is one of the areas that the government, I believe, should be investing, and they are not. The Labor Department has suspended Job Corps centers, and this is receiving bipartisan pushback. For those that don't know, this is under the Department of Labor, DOL. DOL. It announced this week that it's going to pause operations at Job Corps centers nationwide. So for those people who might be receiving Medicare and trying to get a job, all of a sudden the Job Corps center is closed and now your Medicare is going to be cut and the race to the bottom continues. The department said it will begin a phased pause, initiating an orderly transition for students, staff, and local communities.
Oh.
Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeReamer. Yeah, I remember her from high school. Remember DeReamer?
Dreamweaver.
No, asshole was dirty.
No.
Not when DeReamer came around. That's the political insight you can only get here.
Yeah, reaming
You get it.
from Dorima.
What's the name of that one podcast that people like, but they're all stupid? What's the name of that one with all the Obama morons?
Oh, I don't know. But I know what you're talking about.
They're so boring. I know these guys. They're all, whatever. Favor. Anyway, so she says there is a startling number of serious incidents when it comes to these Job Corps participants. They say, we remain committed to ensuring all participants are supported through this transition and connected with the resources they need to succeed as we evaluate the program's possibility. Job Corps has been around since the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964. It is a free residential education and job training program for people who have low income between the ages of 16 and 24. So the folks who want to go into this are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
They're trying to get an education. They're trying to work a trade. Please, God, we need more trade workers. Don't be like Kyle and I. Don't just sit and well, you're actually a tradesman.
Yeah, and I actually went to Job Corps when I was in high school.
Well, it's cut now, you asshole.
Yeah, now it's gone.
Now you're done.
Yeah.
What else would you be doing? You'd probably be sitting next to me if you didn't go.
Here I am.
Yeah, there you go.
Still went.
These programs are needed. These are the backbone of a country that is, again, currently eroding its middle class and its workforce. And of course, as we talked about with AI, perhaps they do see we don't need these workers anymore. But we're always going to need construction workers. We're always going to need, I got someone coming to fix 3 holes in my house. Okay, there's things that we need people to still do.
You're getting your holes serviced.
By Deremer.
Hey.
This is as bipartisan concern. Susan Collins.
I'm Susan Collins.
Susan's here.
She really sounds like she's dying.
Oh, boy.
I don't know what's wrong with her. She can't remember shit now, too.
Oh.
She's getting all dumb. She's getting the dementia.
Oh, man.
She defended the program. She says it's serving nearly 500 students in Maine, the Loring Job Corps Center, and the Penobscot Job Corps Center have become important pillars. I agree with her. This should not be cut. Again, this is taking a fine scalpel. This is not going to do anything to get rid of our $2 trillion deficit. This, as a matter of fact, would help the economy again, because if people have jobs, if they're actually working, if they have a trade, then what aren't they doing? Sucking off the government teat. Tammy Baldwin, a much more liberal Democrat than Susan Collins, who of course is a Republican, she also says this is a bad move. She said Congress appropriated funding for Job Corps and the Trump administration can't just decide to not spend it because they want to make room for tax cuts for billionaires. Kind of putting in that rhetoric about the billionaires, which is both true and then also not true, but yes. So bipartisan support for the Job Corps program, and this is one of those cuts that I just will never understand how anyone, a fiscally responsible conservative or a bleeding heart liberal, could possibly be against 16 to 24-year-old low-income folks getting an education, learning a trade so they could contribute to the economy.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, and you almost just have to go down the rabbit hole of, is this simply another way to punish the poor?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that are trying to get out of homelessness through this.
Absolutely.
Too. So it's like people are trying.
As I have talked about before, homelessness is a big time business. Billions and billions of dollars made off the suffering of the homeless.
Ugh, it's disgusting.
Sadly, from the groups who pretend to help.
Yep.
San Francisco gives you $600 a month, just enough for drugs, not enough for housing, just enough to kill yourself. They want you dead, and they want the next person in. It's disgusting.
Yep.
So, Department of Labor, Job Corps, bring it back. I don't know how to start a petition, but if you know how to start a petition and get that done. All right, any comments?
Yeah, Jeff was saying, Dan Patrick was talking about a guy stepping in front of a train because of weed.
Well, it must have been good weed.
It really is. He's saying it's
Hey, man, you see that train coming towards me, or am I just super stoned? No, that's a train, bro. Okay.
Tell him it was weed. Yeah, he's saying it's like modern day reefer madness, which is...
Oh, it's just so stupid. And again, financially, it's a dumb fucking way to handle. You can make so much money.
Yeah, his tourniquet is talking about the same thing that you've always been talking about. They don't want a nation of healed people.
They don't.
Yeah.
No, they don't. No, they don't. That's why it's like if AI does end up curing cancer, I think there's going to be a bullet behind AI's ear, and AI is going to be found in a dumpster somewhere.
Oh, no!
You solved this thing that we solved 50 years ago but didn't tell anyone?
Claude is dead.
Claude, you're dead, Claude.
And Sven was saying Pod Save America is the show that you were referencing.
Oh, Pod Save America. And haven't they done that? Where were they when Joe Biden was losing his mind for 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
Large cover up there.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for supporting the OK Bud Political Show. Did people enjoy the show?
Yes, they did.
All right. Thank you so much. And we will be back 2 episodes of the Political Show every week, 4 episodes of OG OK Bud, and of course, Death and Entertainment. We are looking to build a new studio set. That's our next big move, is a studio set.
Yes.
So if anyone knows carpentry and you live in the North Hollywood area, okbudpod@gmail.com. Let us know.
Holler at
because
us.
Kyle can do. I might put Kyle to work.
All right.
Okay, everyone, hail yourself. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.